How do you define, when you say small business, kind of what comes to mind? Do you think, how much money they make a year, how many employees, how big the operation is?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of all of that. So you look at the number of employees that they have, you look at kind of the size of their operation. And as I travel throughout the 32nd district, a lot of the main streets of our small towns are made up of small business owners, or mom and pop operations. They are stakeholders and in their community, that they've been there for generations. And we've seen an influx of new businesses, especially in some of in Viroqua, that we see a lot of women-owned businesses that are coming in, or small business owners that kind of have that niche of a boutique that they have, or a restaurant. So certainly small business is really the backbone of our small towns and our neighborhoods and our larger urban areas.
You jumped all over this question today. You had a lot of proposals that you threw out that were pretty good. The one that I said before jumped out at me was infrastructure. You talked about broadband. Do you think just basics like broadband and kind of good roads, good equipment are things that we take for granted that basically a business needs?
Yeah, so when we talk about infrastructure in our state and investing, certainly the small business, medium-sized business, large business, they want to have good roads to get their goods to market. We need to have good bridges and rail and airports, but we also need to have a strong emphasis in our broadband in our rural communities. When we talk to the schools, the hospitals, and small businesses, that they want to have access to the bandwidth that they need and to broadband. And unfortunately, last session, Governor Walker returned $23 million in a federal grant to the state of Wisconsin to help with broadband expansion here in the state. And as I've talked to small business owners who've said, we would love to continue to grow our cottage industry from our home, but we are a mile off from where we can have access to broadband. And so we're looking for that expansion so that we love where we live. It's the quality of life. It's that work ethic. It's highly educated and skilled workers, but we also need to be investing for the future, which is in that broadband expansion. And a couple hospitals in the district are looking to expand or look at building a new hospital, and with electronic medical records, that we are seeing that growth for efficiency and reduced costs and cost containment with electronic medical records. So again, that bandwidth, that broadband that is being brought into our rural parts of the state, it is critical in looking to the next century here.
One of the other things that I know you're a big proponent of is you talk a lot about, you're willing to basically work with Republicans, you're willing to compromise. Your record and the legislature supports that. Are you confident, I asked the Congressman this year about the federal budget, are you confident with how divided it's been last year? That kind of after this election, we'll finally say, all right, let's put aside our differences here and get government going? Because it's not just you're willing to work together, it's everybody else has to be willing to work together too.
Yeah, well, I am the eternal optimist that I think, I hope we've been through the stormiest, rockiest part in our history, and if my colleagues, as they go door to door in their own communities, are hearing what I'm hearing, they want us to get along, they want us to compromise, they want us to be problem solvers and to find solutions about the issues that they are concerned about. And just as voters feel like there is a disconnect in Washington, D.C. about the discussions that are happening back in Wisconsin, people also feel there's a disconnect in Madison about the issues that families sit around the kitchen table. They worry about affordable, health care for their loved ones, their aging parents. They worry about strong local schools for their kids, and they worry about the stability in jobs and turning the corner on the economy. So I certainly continue to pledge to work in a bipartisan manner within the delegation here in western Wisconsin, but also reach across the aisle in both the Assembly and in the Senate on issues that are of common interest here in western Wisconsin. We have a lot of regional issues. They're not partisan issues. They're not based on party affiliation, but those regional issues when it comes to rural schools, when it comes to our small family farms and growing organic farming here in Wisconsin. The issue of tax reciprocity with Minnesota, and working with my colleagues up and down the Mississippi area, and then across the river with our colleagues in Minnesota. So those are issues that I've worked on, and people say that's the kind of leadership that we want, that you are willing to work with the other side, be open to ideas, but really have that compromise and that cooperation that we value here in western Wisconsin.
Obviously, different sizes of farms. I know you mentioned the farms. I understand maybe there's some farms that produce millions of stuff every year. But when you say small business, do farms come to mind too? Are they included?
Yeah, when I'm out at a farm in western Wisconsin and looking at their operation, touring it, understanding sort of the input costs that they have for their crops, how they have had to deal with the drought this summer and what that has meant for them and their herd and being able to purchase feed. That those are all issues that, and they see themselves as small business as well, and they certainly are. And we need to make sure that here in Wisconsin, agriculture continues to be that stable economy. It's a $59 billion economy here in Wisconsin. We have seen exports grow in our agriculture area, and we need to recognize that while we're seeing some increases there, they certainly continue to struggle with high healthcare insurance, the high input costs that they are seeing, and they will still see some ramifications of the drought as they go into the next planting season.
That's all I got for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time. So you know where I'm going with the small business. I did kind of want to do one on kind of how we define small business.
Shoot, I didn't talk about venture capital. That's the thing I like to talk about. Okay, I'll just wonder.
The problem is the economist that I usually, Dr. Brooks at UWL.
Oh, Taggart.
Yeah,
Okay.
he told me he's like, he doesn't know if he usually is really good with me about doing interviews, but he doesn't know if he wants to do one on like the economic definition because he said it doesn't want to look like he's basically taking sides and oh, this politician isn't definitely right and wrong. So we'll see if they ever let me run it or not, if I can ever do it in a way that's like non-biased. But I figured in case I wanted to get your take.
Okay, good. I'm going to ask myself a question and then I'll answer it.
Sounds good.
So, Senator Shilling, what are some of the ideas for small business growth here in Wisconsin that you'd like to see when you're elected to the state senate moving forward in 2013? Well, and when I talk to small businesses here across the district, they're looking at hiring folks that have the right skills and training that we need. That there is a skills gap here. We need to better align that. We need to look at capital, early seed capital, venture capital for them, and in the rural parts of the state that we've got some legislation on tax incentives for these small businesses and nonprofits for some financial assistance and some of that venture capital. And it's also looking at that broadband, and it's that expansion of broadband to these small businesses, cottage industries that really will connect them to a global market. And they love Wisconsin, the work ethic here. They love the trained, highly educated workers that we have here, but they also recognize that infrastructure, business infrastructure, is paramount for them to be able to compete in the global economy.
And when you mentioned the venture capital bill, that's basically state money to kind of encourage them to take a risk.
Right, yes, and we had a bill last year. We didn't have the support to get it through, but I think as we have discussions and special committees that in this off time of the legislature, they've been continuing to meet to design the framework for a venture capital here bill in Wisconsin that would have that early seed capital, early seed money for those small businesses. It would have oversight by a Wisconsin agency, the SWIB board, and it'll also have accountability with audits, which in the past we've had a venture capital bill here that wasn't designed in a way that really protected the best interests of Wisconsin taxpayers. I think we've learned from that mistake, and that's why oversight and an audit is critical, as well as having